Hey guys. Hey guys. I thought I would do a sort of a check-in video since we're getting ready to start week 6. We've made some really good progress. You guys have picked really good websites to work on, and you've already done some really good analysis using the points in our text. So we're going to keep working on that, and we're also going to shift and start working on some other things too. So I thought I'd take this time to kind of, review where we've been and talk about where we're going. First of all, just a quick check up on the updates. I think everybody's figured out by now that you have to post in the updates once a week. And don't worry, if you did miss that for whatever reason, you can catch up. You're supposed to do one per week, which is a total of 15 by the end. So, like at the end of today, you should have at least 5. And then next week, we start week 6. So for that week, you should have 1. And you should read everything in the updates for them. I mean, it doesn't take... it might take 5-10 minutes at the most each week, and there's info in there that's helpful and useful to you. So make sure that you look in there and check in there and keep up with what's going on. And it really helps me because, I do it to help you guys, because if I know what's going on and know that you're there and hear from you, even if it's just everything's okay, then it helps me to keep track and know that everything's, going well. The schedule, I have done some more work on the schedule. Week 6, I actually added, and that's another point I want to emphasize. I don't generally change much on the schedule, and if I do, I would tell you, but like October 6th, I added this third posting that wasn't on there before. So you should always, don't print out things way ahead of time. Each week you should go in here and check and see, what's posted. So we're going to keep doing our reading, and we'll start working on the textbook, not the textbook. It's not a textbook. It's the Whiplash book. It's a popular reading text, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's an easy read, and I think it's a very interesting read. And what we're going to do this activity called a fishbowl discussion. And basically what that means is you'll be in 3 groups, and each for 3 weeks, and each week one of the 3 groups will have a discussion about the book. And it's not that you're leading a discussion. It's like we normally do discussions. For whatever chapters you're assigned, you will, in the discussion forum, talk about the reading. And then everybody else will watch. It's this idea of you're going to watch what's going on in the fishbowl. So the small group is the fishbowl. And then if you're not in the fishbowl, you will write a summary of what the people in the fishbowl have talked about. Now remember, a summary is not, what you think or what you liked or, what you didn't like or what was left out. In a summary, you talk about, what happened, what you read, what you saw in the discussion forum. So that's basically how the fishbowl activity works. Now, related to that, something else I want to talk a little bit about is this idea of how do you do things, based on the different activities. And for example, I had said, when you post things in the discussion forum, one of the things you can do is post a video if you want to. It doesn't have to always be that you just go in and write the stuff. And a student asked me, did I prefer a video? And it's not so much what I prefer, but what I want to have you guys do in this class, since it's writing for the web, you have to think about, what kind of a application format are you going to use when you are working in the online environment. That's one of the things you have to think about. Let me show you this. I made my own infographic since you guys had been doing that. And I wanted to talk just a minute about how writing is changing in the digital age. Because what we think of writing is founded in print culture. Print culture meaning some people describe that as hard copy. Somebody asked the question, what do you mean by web text? To me, a web text is something that's not a print culture type of document, a hard copy type of document. But you can read in the updates forum. I talked a little bit more about that. But as we shift to digital culture, the term writing really doesn't even totally fit, and it's so based in our own old concepts of what we did in print culture. So when we think of digital culture and how we communicate, we've got to think about it a little bit different. When I think about digital content, I think of it in terms of 4 areas. You've got content creation, content design, content management, and content delivery. Now, content creation is not the concept that we traditionally may think of when we think of create, because we think create, okay, I'm going to write a story, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write this paper, or whatever. Content creation is usually where it's more of a repurposing, because there's so much information that we have on just nearly, every topic you can think of. So content creation is really more usually repurposing. What's out there? What have you chosen? What are you going to do with it? How are you going to reuse it? How are you going to redesign it? How are you going to present it differently. And design and creation are tied together. In the old days when we thought of writing, the writing we thought of as separate. But nowadays, the writing isn't separate. You have to think about the design. What kind of an application is the information going to be presented in? Is it going to be on a web page? Is it going to be an online memo? Is it going to be in Instagram? Is it going to be, is it a mobile application? And some digital formats, some digital communication channels we have, may not even necessarily be online, but they might still be a digitally based environment. So you have to think about design, management, where we put things, how they connect. In the old days, if we, wrote a paper, we'd have that paper, we'd have that file, and it would be considered a separate type of document. But nowadays, when we're working in the digital environment, everything connects. So how do we make sure all that stuff works together and connects? And where are we sending readers when we, create content for the online environment? And then delivery. Again, in the old days, if we printed out a book, well, the book is its own standalone object, and the delivery would be a separate thing. You'd either give it to somebody, in person, or if you mailed it, that's a whole different system. You put it in the library for people to check out. But nowadays, you have to know, what the delivery system is going to do with your content. And you've all had that experience, where you put together something and then when it got delivered, things were changed. Any of you that have applied for jobs know, you don't just send a resume and a cover letter as a hard document anymore. You have to put them into these, into these digital systems, and they all work a little bit differently. Okay, so anyway, when you think about that, and here I was going to show you, I don't know if you're familiar with Spark. It's one of the Adobe applications that they have, but you can see here, when you look at this just kind of gives you a different way to think about all the different ways things are, delivered. And you can kind of see, you see invitation, flyer, those are print. culture terms that we're familiar with. But then look at this, an explainer video. I thought that was very interesting, an explainer video. So you can see how, we're still shifting. There's infographic. Now, in terms of delivery, I wanted to talk a little bit about, what I'm hoping to help you with, give you some experience with in terms of delivery. Blackboard, as you've probably seen me, mention a time or two, Blackboard is not the most interactive application. It's really got its challenges. So what are your options for, when I'd say to you, okay, we're going to do this kind of activity, you need to talk with people in a group, you need to share with people in a group, that kind of thing. You've got some options here. There's an actual group link where you can create your own group. You can do a blog, you can do a journal, you can do a wiki, and a WebEx. I'm trying to get people to come more into the WebEx classroom. You may not know, but you as a student can go in there and have a WebEx meeting. They're really great. I really think the WebEx application is a really great thing to use. And nowadays, a lot of the things we do in the digital environment are, video-based types of applications. And I was talking to another student, and when she was asking me about, did I prefer videos? And I was like, well, it's not that I prefer them, but I like to give students options too, so you can kind of use what is more comfortable for you, or even, maybe some applications you have access to, and maybe others it's much harder for you. But I told her, I said, in our regular lives we do that. We do videos all the time. But in a class, it's kind of like getting up in front of the class. Nobody wants to do that kind of thing. But that's something that I'm working on as an online teacher. So anyway, whenever you're doing something like, say, the fishbowl discussion, if you want to use just the discussion forum and do it using the kind of thread formats, that's fine. But even when you're doing that, think about what you have available to you there to help you. Threads are very important whenever you're working in one of those discussion forum type areas. So when we do the fishbowl, when we post about those, I will make a thread for the smaller group and then make another thread for the larger group. And so if you post in the thread, that you are a part of that week, it will certainly be helpful to you and to everyone else. Now, let me add, however, that if you don't put something in the wrong place, if you put something in the wrong place, I'm not going to count off points for that. Because what I do is I consider our space here in this class a place for you to practice with those things and to try them out and to see how they work. And there's not any problem at all with things that don't work. But at the same time, I want you to, get in there and experience and play with it and, get some experience for these kinds of things that you're going to have to do when you go out there and get out there on the job. So anyway, I'm running out of voice here. But that's pretty much what I wanted to kind of cover, just to give you some general information about, reviewing where we've been and where we're going. And like I said, check out the schedule. I think I got things posted through the first week in November. But keep asking your questions in the updates forum. That really helps a lot. That's a big point. One more thing about the fishbowl activity. Let me look at actually when we actually get into the groups. The small group people will have to post by midnight on Thursday nights. And then that will give everyone else time by Sunday night to turn in their summaries. So whenever you're in the small group, make sure you make note of that, because that is one change that we have to up to this point. That's the only one, but make sure you don't miss that different date. Okay, well, you guys are doing a great and fabulous job, and I really am enjoying working with you, and I appreciate patience whenever, maybe something's going wrong and I'm not sure what's going on, and but believe me, I will do everything I can to try to make it all work and help you out in any way that I can. So keep posting and keep doing great work, and I will I'll look forward to all the rest of the good work you guys are going to produce. And I'll say, go Cowboys. Because we want the Cowboys to win again. 3 in a row.